Bitcoin Group, the American original. For over the last 10 seconds, the sharpest Satoshis, the best Bitcoins, the hardest cryptocurrency talk. We'd like to welcome our panelists, Ben Ark from LN Bits.
Evening all.
Dan Eve, the Crypto Raptor.
Happy Friday, folks.
Martine Wishmare from General Bytes.
What's up, guys?
Josh Agala from the Standard.io.
Good morning, Vietnam.
And I'm Thomas Hunt from the World Crypto Network. Moving on to issue one. Issue one, Bitcoin drops below 36,000 amid broader market sell-off. Bitcoin prices fell less than 10% Friday, all the way to 35,917. The moves follow a painful day on Wall Street, which saw the blue-chip Dow Jones Industrial Average lose more than 1,000 points, as the tech-heavy Nasdaq also fell 5%. Both losses marked the worst single-day drop since 2020 and followed big rallies in the previous session. The Dow and Nasdaq fell again on Friday. Is this it for Bitcoin? We've linked up with the stock market, and forevermore, when the stocks go down, the Bitcoin goes down. Ben Ark, is there anything different about Bitcoin today that wasn't there yesterday?
I mean, I don't think it's, I mean, it is obviously, there is some correlation with the stock market, obviously, and that's something which can help pull the price down. But and I know there's a lot of investment going into Bitcoin and Bitcoin projects currently, but then, and you know, there's good things which are happening, like countries adopting and whatever. But I just think the market is just bearish. It's just going down. We need to bleed out. Like I can imagine us hitting, you know, £10,000 or something. I can imagine we're not quite. No one's at the point yet where they're thoroughly miserable and they don't even want to talk about the price. I keep seeing these little tweets of people saying, "Oh, the price is going to go back up now." And it's when we get to that point where we think the price is never going to go back up. We don't even want to talk about the price. That's usually where, you know, we hit the bottom and then we go up from there. And there's some pretty bad news, like like with the El Salvador stuff. It's I'm going to talk about that a little bit later on, but we had a lot of hope for that experiment, and overtly it doesn't seem to be working because of the volatility of Bitcoin price and Bitcoin's price going down. And I think it's a kind of a bad atmosphere for Bitcoin. It's being used by the Ukrainians and the Russians, and it's, you know, been adopted in the African Republic and all this other stuff, but which is great. But I just think I don't know. I just feel like the market's bearish. It's going down, but it's also bearish about stocks and shares as well. I'm not sure there's 100% of correlation there, because before we've detached from markets, and I imagine that probably will happen again at some point. I just think just generally there's bearishness in within traders and in the markets.
As much as people like to say they don't care about the price, it does kind of affect the weather in the room. Everyone's bearish, it's gloomy and gray and sad. When it's going up, everyone's happy they made money yesterday. Now people are starting to say things like "bildle" again. Dan Eve, is this the end of the world? Henny penny, the sky is falling?
That's it, lads. Pack the ball away. We're going home. No more football. No more Bitcoin. No, obviously the general markets, they've been on a bull run, you know, up until sort of end of 2021. I mean, the Nasdaq hit all-time high on the 19th of November, and that's been in kind of a steady decline since then. And so we're going to be trailing in some of that path, but it's only 25% down from all-time high. And I definitely agree with what Ben's saying about if it's not painful yet. It's not shitting yourself yet, like price yet. And you know, that feeling of when in 2019, when, you know, Bitcoin was circling around 3K, you know, after I think it went 50% down, like from 6K in a matter of a week or so, and everyone was like really like, oh no, this is the end, my only friend. You know, everyone's ringing each other up and saying their goodbye. No, it wasn't that bad, but it felt like that inside, right? And you know, Bitcoin now it's the 19.5K all-time high of 2017. Back then went down to 3K, so that's like an 85% drop. So 85% drop from the recent all-time high. would take us down to 10K. And that would yes, so Ben, I think you're spot on the money there. But the thing, that Ben's saying, it also is true about the investment that keeps going into Bitcoin. You've all got all these banks that are coming out, these institutions that are coming out and buying up Bitcoin or setting up Bitcoin services. Infrastructure is as usual growing daily. And what is also growing, even to reaching an all-time high on the 2nd of May, is the hash rate of Bitcoin, which hit 250 exahashes on the 2nd of May, which is incredible. And now it's floating about 220, which is still, again, it's just explosive mining, power and security, but that's supporting Bitcoin. So whilst the price isn't enjoying it isn't being enjoyed right now, everything else that Bitcoin builds is being enjoyed. There's talk of a recession, and Bitcoin was born after a recession, so it was built for coming out of recessions, and so let's be interesting to see how it fares. The price fares through an actual recession.
All right, forced prediction. I want to judge the bearishness of this panel. We're going to start with Ben. Just give me a yes or no. Will Bitcoin hit 10K? Ben.
I think pounds. I'm not sure about dollars, but I think pounds, yeah.
Dan Eve, pounds or dollars?
Oh, I reckon about, I don't know. Yeah, fuck it. Pardon me. I think it will.
Two of them.
I think it could be crazy.
Martin Wishmayer, are we going to 10K? Yes or no?
I don't see that happen. I think
that's what I'm saying. Joshua Shigala, 10K. That's what I'm saying. I don't know where this comes from. This magical number, 85%, has to go down. Oh, well, we'll see if it happens. We're on the record now. It is sealed. Martin Wishmayer, should we give up? Should we take our ball and go home? There's just no more joy in Bitcoin.
I'm not too worried about it. This correlation with the stock market is a bit strange. As we've seen the Nasdaq, I think we haven't had such a bad day since the 2020, early 2020. So I don't understand why it's so linked to stocks. Stocks are a risk-on asset, and Bitcoin is considered a risk-off asset. So you'd think that it acts just the opposite, but no, Nasdaq goes down, Bitcoin goes down. But the thing is, many of those stocks, zombie stocks, went up during the pandemic. Like, for example, Hertz, they went up like crazy while no car was rented out because of stay-at-home orders. So it made no sense whatsoever. So I'm happy with the Bitcoin investment. I still think it's a good investment, maybe not for the short term, but definitely for the long term, because the stock market is just heavily manipulated by the Fed, just putting out news like, oh, we'll raise the interest rates, bang, and there goes the stock market. With Bitcoin, you can ban it so many times from China and Russia and whatever. And then that's it. Eventually it stops. It's just, the honey badger doesn't care. So no, I'm not too worried, Thomas.
I think it's all about that dirty trader money. We wanted it so bad. Now it's here, and it makes us go up and down like crazy because the traders don't know the fundamentals of Bitcoin. They're not aware that there's only 21 million units and that the programmers won't ever let there be more. They think, oh, there's always more or something. And it's not a normal stock. And once you sell your Bitcoin, you rarely, if never, get it back. But they're going to learn that over time. We have to give them the curve. Joshua Shigala, it's raining outside. Everyone says we should go home. We're linked to the stock market. Inflation's here, but that's not helping either. What's wrong with the price of Bitcoin?
Yeah, I mean, anyone new coming into this market, usually what I tell them is, look, you have to treat it like marijuana stocks. You've got to buy high and sell higher. Really, that's how you do it. But no, look, it's a pretty weird, crazy day for anyone that's new, and anyone that's old. It's like, this is what crypto does. This is what Bitcoin does. It goes up and down. So don't worry about it. Buy more. The weird thing is that when I think I've said it on the show before, but like if something goes on sale, like some jeans that you've been keeping your eye on, or some shoes or something, you go in there and you're like, oh, I'm going to buy them. It's on sale. It's like 20% off. I'm going to buy it now. But somehow with stocks or investment vehicles, a lot of people get scared when it drops, and they're like, ooh, no, it's losing value. I'm not going to, oh no. And in the other way, when like the shop might go 20, these shoes are now 20% more. It's like everyone's like, oh, I got to buy it now. So I tend to try to tell people to like imagine investment vehicles like this, or Bitcoin, or gold, or stocks, to be like a commodity, like something you're buying. Look for when it's down. Look when it's on sale. And decide for yourself where if it has fundamental value, where the fundamental value lies. With Bitcoin only having 21 million units, really the fundamental value lies at like in the millions of dollars. So if you are looking for an entry point, I'd say cross, average buy-in, and enjoy the ride.
Well, and especially for people who have been in Bitcoin a long time, it's hard to be sad and depressed at a $35,000 price. Even $10,000 you guys were talking about earlier, which would be, henny penny, the sky is falling, the end of the world. It's not 3K. It's not even $1,200. It used to be $300. So it still seems like a lot of money if you've been in it long enough. And if this is your first crash, welcome to Bitcoin. And if you stay around an average of 5 years, you always make money because of the halvenings. So I think more and more, like we were saying in the chat, we were starting to count down, we're at the halfway point to the halvening, another 2 years or so. And the reduction of Bitcoin being produced will cause people again to realize that the issuance of this stock is not like Tesla. When Tesla got more popular, they split the stock, they made more of it. When Bitcoin gets more popular, there's less all the time anyway, because it's on a predetermined schedule, because it's kind of got this libertarian money thing coded into it. And that's where a lot of this comes from, this ideas. So
yeah, the thing to really look out for, when you're in a bear market, when people start posting, suicide hotlines on Reddit and stuff, which it's really not funny, Martin. It's not funny, man. Like,
it's funny.
And people were posting them from like $5 down to $1. And if you think, oh wow, but $5, that's a massive drop. $5 down to $1 is a huge drop. $30 down to $1, that's happened. So you got to think in percentages and percentage wise. And this is why people say Bitcoin will become less volatile over years, because of the fact that in percentage wise, it's harder. The bigger it is, the harder it is to fall larger percentages. But yeah, just stay in there. Definitely build. If you're into Bitcoin or crypto, build something cool, add to the community, add to the ecosystem. Tell your local store to accept Lightning. This is the time.
And especially for people that aren't in Bitcoin, they're like, oh, it's so easy to make money in Bitcoin. Oh, all I would do is I would have bought it and I would have held the whole time. Well, here we are. We're down, I don't know, 50% plus, something like that. And everyone's like, why didn't you sell before? Why didn't you sell when it was up or on the way down? And it's all about not knowing when it's going to go up. I don't know when it's going to go up. I don't know when it's going to go down. I do know there's a limited number of units at 21 million. And if you can get yourself one of those, that's pretty awesome.
Thomas, I know something that will go up, or that does know, though. The Magic 8 Ball.
I don't know where it is, though.
You had the perfect segue.
Well, we're going to have you guys predict anyway. But yeah, we're in an absolute Indiana Jones type situation where we don't know where the Magic 8 Ball is. And at a time like this, when we need it so much. But I think we have to rely on web pages like, is Bitcoin dead? And you can check that. It says no. And there's another web page. I think it's like, is it time to sell Bitcoin? I think it also says no. So it doesn't ever change though. But that's internet humor for you. All right, to the exit question. We're pretty down right now. Ben and Dan are super bears. Martine and Josh are with me. We're positive about Bitcoin. We're not giving this up yet. But next week's another story. The stocks went down again today. Of course, it's Friday for them, so they can take the weekend off. La-ti-da. Bitcoin will still be there trading. Ben Ark, will it go up or down?
Down. Catastrophically. We'll be a little bit sadder next week.
They're going to knock the spring out of our step. Dan, Eve, up or down? Higher or lower? More bearish depressiveness from this left side of the panel. Okay, Martine, right side of the panel. Tell me something nice about Bitcoin. We're going up or down?
I don't expect any major changes, but it will take a little bit more time before we go up again.
Still 21 million units. Josh Shigala.
The thing is, like, things generally they consolidate either in price or they consolidate with time. And we've seen a lot of consolidation with time for a long time, meaning that it goes sideways. When you have a huge run up, we had like 60K. I mean, we've come down, but it's been consolidating sideways for so long now that this is just part of the sideways. And I feel it'll go back up to match that sideways action. It'll just keep on going sideways, and then it'll eventually start heading back up. So that's my prediction.
I'm going to go with a push, the worst of all answers. If the stock market goes down, then Bitcoin will go down as well. There you go. So now all you have to do is go predict the whole stock market. Piece of cake. Speaking of people who can predict the whole stock market, issue 2, MicroStrategy margin call. If MicroStrategy is margin called and the price of Bitcoin hits $21,000, the company might have to give back their Bitcoin. The event we've talked about for so long is finally here. It's not the board and the angry company at Saylor's door just yet. Right now, it's simple mathematics. The company has been borrowing millions of dollars from banks to buy more Bitcoin. They've been using their existing Bitcoin as collateral for the loan. They say they still have some other Bitcoin that they could use to maybe bail out their loan. There's even been talks of MicroStrategy providing a floor for Bitcoin by buying so much currency, hearkening people back to Paycoin and their legendary $20 floor. But if the price hits $21,000, interesting things will happen for MicroStrategy. Dan, Eve, is Michael Saylor in trouble? Have they borrowed too much and bought Bitcoin too late?
Well, it seems like MicroStrategy's share price has had a bit of a tumble as well recently. I think it's down 50% since they started publicly announcing buying Bitcoin in like August. It did peak. It reached a high at November 2021 of $860. So it's actually about 66% down from all-time high. But 21, obviously is quite low, and it's what 60%, 40% down from where we are now, something like that. And that's still quite a big drop. He's got quite a big following. In terms of he can build an army of other investors and try and build this floor, and that would be really cool. 21,000 is also, it's kind of quite an important number as well, I suppose, because of the 21. So maybe he planned it that way. He planned his own demise, Nostradamus style. I don't know. But I think MicroStrategy as a company is feeling the hit right now. Obviously, the being hit by the Bitcoin price. I'm wondering if there's anything, as well as having this spare uncollateralized Bitcoin, if there's anything they can do with the shares by like diluting shares in order to raise more funds to hold the Bitcoin. There's various other little share price tricks of the trade they can do. But ultimately, all he needs to do is, I think I'm just looking through the list now. There's about 3 or 4 recommended YouTube shows right now where it seems like he's doing an Ethereum giveaway. So maybe he needs to he's doing these actually is a giant scam, and he's getting some compensation for when Bitcoin does fall. So he's reaping a load of Ethereum from gullible YouTubers. But yeah, ultimately it would be very bad, and I don't want to see Bitcoin hitting 21k and definitely not 10k. So I don't know, maybe even I'm sure we'll get onto it later at some point in the show, but the Twitter takeover is also going to provide a safety net with with Elon Musk being a bit more open to kind of crypto shilling and on Twitter, and maybe that's going to provide a bit more of a kind of, what's the word, a social rocket behind the Bitcoin price and summoning the price demons to take us back up to the all-time highs again.
I think they're going to have a problem. A lot of those tricks that they're doing only work when the market's going up, not when it's going down. When it's going up, you're a big winner and you can spread out your wins and get some more bets. When it's going down, they're more like you're a big loser on your way to cratering. So it's not that love. And I've really got to wonder how this all looks from the outside. From the outside, a company buys Bitcoin, Bitcoin goes down, the company's in trouble. And to preview our next story just a little bit, a country buys Bitcoin, Bitcoin goes down, and then the country's in trouble. So not good for Bitcoin. Obviously, as Bitcoin insiders and believers and such, we stick with the coin. But from the outside, they must be cackling and laughing, and this is a big down. But obviously, they probably have their money in the stock market, so it's not that funny either. Martine Wishmare, what about MicroStrategy? Did they buy too much and maybe too late?
Well, it will still need a considerable dive of the Bitcoin price to hit 21k. So I'm not too worried. On the other hand, we always tell people, like, don't use money that you might need within 4 years. Also implies that don't borrow money to buy Bitcoin. I mean, that's really pushing it. And he's like a mega bull in that respect. But he's taking a risk. I don't think he'll be liquidated, or he'll get a more margin call though. On the other hand, if people can manipulate the price, maybe they just want to shut him up. And if they can manipulate the price, then 21 it is. But I hope for him and also for El Salvador that won't be the case. On the other hand, if it does, it's a good buying opportunity for the rest of us.
Now, obviously, like everybody else, I love the stuff he says on Twitter, but it would have been better in 2013 or 2015 or 2017. Where was he then? Did Michael Saylor not know about Bitcoin? Did he not analyze it? Why wait so long? Josh Shigala, don't you think the company waited so long to go Bitcoin crazy? This kind of insane Bitcoin strategy, if they tried it at $1 or $10 or $100 and then held for even a year, this would have been unspeakable, the idea of them losing money. But by getting in so late and then by getting in so large, have they exposed themselves? Will they survive?
Yeah, I mean, back then banks wouldn't have lent them any money against that weird internet, strange, fake, wizard money. But I think, look, Saylor's a businessman. He's a very sophisticated Wall Street guy. He understands the risks of going leverage and going super long, especially on a volatile asset like Bitcoin. So he might truly understand the value long term. And I'm sure he would have taken in consideration that we could hit 21,000, especially up at 36. So personally, I don't think we're going to get anywhere near that. I think we've consolidated sideways for so long that we're not going to go down that much. But it's definitely something he should look into. I'm sure that another bank will lend him something to cover his position, or something will happen. But if it doesn't, then he liquidates and some people will buy Bitcoin cheap off of him and the life goes on. I don't quite honestly, have a soft spot in my heart for the guy or anything. He's made a cold hard decision to leverage long on this stuff. If he gets liquidated, we've all lost money in this game at some stage, made bad calls, and that's just what happens. Whether it's if you've trusted the wrong exchange or if you've gone leveraged like crazy, it's happened to most people in this game. So it'll just be Michael's epic version of this, and is what it is. Bitcoin will just keep on going.
Martin, go ahead.
Thomas, I think there's a simple reason for why you said did he join so late? Why is Michael Saylor so late to the party? Well, it's because the nature of what Bitcoin is to people has changed considerably over the years. 2013, 2011, it was a bit like, proof of concept. 2012, it was like dark market money. 2013, it was sort of like PayPal-like nerd money. And only after Bitcoin hit that $1 trillion market cap, then it became interesting for like large players like Michael Saylor to actually go in, because if he would have gone in earlier, this market was too shallow, and anything happening then would cause weird fluctuations in the price. And basically, because it was so shallow, it would have been impossible to liquidate his assets at a later stage when the price would have gone up. So this is why I think many larger investors are only now looking at it, because even if they knew about it back then, before it had a $1 trillion market cap, it was just not interesting for the type of volume that they handle on a daily basis.
I could definitely see that. I could also see what Josh is saying, how his tools wouldn't work there. He couldn't get money from bankers to do it. He couldn't route it through an exchange. If he wanted to, like in the old days, if you wanted to buy, 1,000 Bitcoins, 10,000 Bitcoins, you'd wreck the exchange, right? No exchange is there that's capable of serving your order. If it showed up in the order book, it'd be a complete nightmare. I could see a lot of that, and that they had to wait till it was a more mature environment. They would have practically had to go door to door to get the Bitcoins, or made direct deals with the miners or something like that, which still doesn't seem that difficult or impossible. But again, they'd lose a lot of their superpowers. They'd lose a lot of their investing strength. Ben Ark, what do you think? Is MicroStrategy in trouble? When did we start rooting for these crazy gamblers? He's got leverage. He's telling everyone on the internet, don't sell your Bitcoin, but use them as collateral for risky loans. Is this like loanal or something? Is this a new thing?
I think it's bullish, because Michael, stacking Saylor and his fat stacks is $5 billion worth of Bitcoin, which is locked up, and then all the other investors he's encouraging to buy Bitcoin and keep buying more Bitcoin and try and create this feedback loop. Even he can't talk the price round, and that's good, because we want that. We want someone with that much influence and that much capital to not be able to affect the price just by talking. So it's bullish that he can't move the price. I mean, they're still doing well. I think the average price per Bitcoin which they bought would put their stash at 4 billion, and then the actual price of their stash is 5 billion. So they're still $1 billion in. So that's not bad. But as I said, I mean, I'm quite bearish, and I think they're going to have to do the margin calls at 21K. So that will happen, but then they have got the uncollateralized Bitcoin. And this is that feedback loop, which can get us down to 10K, because all that stuff happens. All these like investment portfolios fail, and they dump their Bitcoin just to try and to stay solvent enough that they don't go completely bankrupt. And then that just floods the market. The price goes, everyone's Bitcoin's dead. And then we hit that ground where we're thoroughly miserable, and the price can go back up. But yeah, it's bullish ultimately that Saylor can't talk the price round. It's good.
We're gonna start calling you Ben the Bear. It's looking bad, man. Depressing. No, I can see what you're saying though. If he does hit 21, it could cascade down to 10, just because of the negative news, all the positive stuff that was put into MicroStrategy, all the time we spent retweeting all those cool quotes that he kept putting out, and the way he was shoving it to those bankers. That all rolls back. And then while we're giving Ben crap for being bearish, Martine and I are over here saying it's not going to rise till the halving. So we're like 2-year bears. So it's just a lot of bearishness going around here. Meanwhile,
timing's pretty accurate, isn't it? For it to hit low and then for us to stay low for a while, and then the halving news kicks in, and that's when we start going back up.
I like the halving call because it's just so easy. The amount of units being produced goes down. The price of Bitcoin goes up. Like, I feel like I'm plan B or some kind of genius. Like I invented this thing, but it's just like, it's the way it's designed, people. If you do any kind of like small reading about Bitcoin, it's like, what the heck is this structure? You know, how are you deciding when to print the money? Is it like a Twitter poll? Like, no, it goes down. The amount of money being produced in Bitcoin goes down. So I don't know. We said it a lot, but I don't think people are getting it. Exit question. Ben's already a big yes. Do you think that MicroStrategy will get margined called? Dan Eve.
I think they've got tricks up their sleeve. I think they'll stay out of it with the uncollateralized and Bitcoin they have, and potential to kind of I don't know, dilute the shares or something of MicroStrategy.
I think we'll see another great like bear whale type explosion of artwork if the corporations and the businesses keep the price of Bitcoin like above 21,000. Like it dips, it goes like 21,000 and $1 or something. It's like just on the line. Like if it goes any more, we lose it all. Like we gotta, back that up. Which again, just as soon as they said this, as soon as this article came out, just like Paycoin with a $20 floor, when it came out, I was like, oh, all you're asking is for someone with too much money to come in and wreck your market. Like it's just too much fun. Can you imagine if you had enough money to like short Bitcoin down to 20,000 just for kicks, to ruin MicroStrategy just for like the fun of it? Because it's a number and it's like, oh, it's just like I watched the documentary about the GameStop thing. And it was the same kind of thing. They saw all those shorts on the stack and they were like, we could wreck all these shorts. And they told the internet, and the internet was like, that sounds like fun. Wrecking Wall Street shorts sounds like fun. Now, everybody here, likes MicroStrategy. We say nice things and stuff, but still, if you were a badass dude with $1 billion looking for fun, I don't know how much it would take. It's theoretical.
And then you've got, as well as all that, you've got that spy, Elon Musk, buying Twitter so he can like push his own shitcoin or Dogecoin or something, and that'll be another nail in the coffin of Bitcoin as it makes its descent down to 10K. Yeah, we're screwed.
I love that. I hope they do it though. I hope they use Dogecoin for tipping and they overload the network and they have a scaling problem on Dogecoin. And they're like, what are we going to do? And it's like, why don't you make a lightning network like Bitcoin does? And it's like, why are we doing this twice? Like Elon Musk, why are we doing this twice? Just for the lulz? Because it had a funny dog on it. Like I know Jackson, but like, come on, man. Why are we doing this?
He's a spy. He's working for the US and he's trying to kill Bitcoin.
Oh, and he's a robot sent back from the future. Okay, we talked to Dan. Martine Wishmayer, will we hit $21,000? Will MicroStrategy get margined called?
Don't count on it. Don't count on it. We'll see it go up and down, but 21 is pretty low. I really don't think so. If it happens, it will only be for a brief moment, but I don't think we'll have such a buying opportunity anymore.
Josh Segala, 21,000 just to break MicroStrategy, if for nothing else.
I mean, that could definitely happen in terms of for the lulz, but I don't think so. No, I think it'll be fine.
It's never too late to update all those Michael Saylor graphics to the guy on Monopoly with his pockets pulled out and he's all sad and bankrupt, and we're like, yeah, that's the game of Monopoly. Sometimes you're on top with the top head, and other times it just goes down.
Sailor got mutiny.
It's never too late. We'll see how it goes. Check out WCN Clips, where we now have 102 subscribers. 103 could be you. Just Google WCN Clips. Check out our new cool headlines. Is Bitcoin winning over other cryptos? Central African Republic adopts Bitcoin as legal tender. Goldman Sachs offers Bitcoin-backed loans. These are great little clips of the show that you can share with your friends. Give them thumbs up, put comments on there. It's like a whole nother channel with just clips of the show. WCN Clips. Just Google that. It's in the link below. All that stuff. Moving on to issue 3. El Salvador's Bitcoin bond reportedly doesn't have a single investor, and markets are already bracing for a default on their conventional debt. Yes, it's time for more I told you so from the international community, and especially some guffawing and joy from the International Monetary Fund. Nayib Bukele is seeking $1 billion for a crypto-backed bond, part of which includes the idea to buy Bitcoin, which looks pretty bad right now. It's a little mini MicroStrategy. And instead of receiving financing, he's received nothing but skepticism and anger. The IMF speaking out against his idea, others saying that it will never work. And now, because the price is down, maybe they're right. Let's see. Josh Shigala, do you want to go first on this one? Is El Salvador's Bitcoin volcano bond in trouble? Will this take down the whole country? Maybe even the president/dictator?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like it's bittersweet. Like I was really rooting for the guy for that to work. The trouble is that you hear all these stories about projects raising, $1 billion like this. Like that's what happened with EOS, and they raised $4 billion back then in 2017. But they had a really big speculative, upswing that people were betting on. Dan Larimer on board. You had all this Bitcoin OG that knew cryptographers, interesting people. Bukele and his Bitcoin bond, yeah, you might have Adam Back on board, who's building the bond through the Blockstream guys and stuff. I don't know if Adam's on board or anything, but the thing is that for the normie, for the retail investor, I don't know why I would buy that. I don't know why I would take part in a Bitcoin bond. What is it? What is it? I don't understand it. And I've read a bunch of stuff about it, and it seems to be like no one understood what it meant. Where's the upswing? Is it from taxpayers paying money back to it? Then most Bitcoiners are like, I don't want your taxpayer dirty money, because it's, most Bitcoiners are like, taxation is theft. So they won't sort of resonate with that. Although, Bitcoin's a lot bigger than the hardcore libertarians nowadays. I don't know, like where was the value prop in that idea? That was what stuck with me. That was kind of difficult to understand. And maybe someone in the chat can let me know where the value proposition was. Where was the upside? Where was the moon in that speculation?
I don't think you're going to find it. I think that was one of the real problems, is when they announced it and they said, well, it's half government spending and it's half we're going to buy Bitcoin for ourselves, and that Bitcoin will return value for it. And I was like, well, why don't I just buy Bitcoin myself?
Yeah.
It was right there. It's like I get 100% of the Bitcoin, or I get 50% of the Bitcoin and the other half in building a new city next to a volcano or something. Like it's not a great real estate transaction, really. It's not like you have some land, Manhattan Island or something.
I mean, my brother had a building in Palma, and the volcano literally destroyed the building. Like, it blew up. So we know up front, like, don't build houses on volcano. But yeah,
that was just months ago. Like that was right in the news. Everyone knew about Palma and about volcanoes in general, their destructive power. And yes, they're dormant ones and so forth, and they could get power from them. But it was kind of like, if you could get power from a volcano, why aren't you doing that already? And why don't you use the 50% of the money you put in Bitcoin to get the power faster or something? Build the thing faster. I don't know.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would have liked to see a more stronger returns case for the investors to understand what it is. And I would have liked to see more on the retail front. I think they could have crowdsourced if they didn't have this big lofty goal of $1 billion. If they just said, we've got this many, just pretty much ICO'd it. It would have been really interesting to see what would happen there. But even that wouldn't really have a use. I don't know. It's a really tricky game. They have a lot of power, meaning they have the power of taxation in a country, and it would have been interesting to see the mechanics of tokenized assets playing together with all that stuff. But yeah, for me as an old school libertarian / anarcho-capitalist type, I don't like taxation. I think just let markets be a little bit more free. And what's with your bond? I don't get it.
Well, I know it in my knower that Dr. Ruja's got a spreadsheet and she's going to double our one coin by November. So if only he had had that spreadsheet technology. Unfortunately, all he had was backwards hat technology, and it doesn't look like it's going to work. Martin Wishmayer, the Bitcoin volcano bond is in tatters. El Salvador is in question. A lot of people look like idiots, but no one here. What about El Salvador? Are they going to make it? Is anybody
Yeah,
gonna buy this bond?
from a retail perspective, I don't see the point. As Josh pointed out, why not just buy Bitcoin instead? I couldn't figure out either what the whole thing was. What I read somewhere 6.5% return on the bonds at maturity. I mean, 6.5%, yes, it's better than my bank account, but it is a risky investment. 6.5% wouldn't cut it, in my opinion. Besides, why not just buy Bitcoin? From what I understood, this was more for companies and institutions that are not allowed to directly invest in Bitcoin. So therefore, they could buy these bonds, and that would really spur interest. But does it? Because there's still the whole trust thing, and it's just better to buy Bitcoin. On the other hand, I think they're extremely bullish in the fact that they are trying to abolish the dependency on the US dollar. So I do give them props on that. And I don't think it's all over yet, but maybe, it's this different ICO type of approach where we would have been more successful. So and also in this piece of land where they're going to build Bitcoin City is like in the middle of nowhere. Why not fix, like Ben already mentioned in a previous show, why not fix San Salvador and could turn it into a little paradise with your $1 billion investment? That makes far more sense than trying to build something new from scratch. This has been done over and over again in the history. I believe Nigeria at one point just moved the capital. In Argentina or Brazil, they did that too. They built Brasilia in the middle of the jungle, and it took decades before it became anything worthwhile visiting anyway. So no. Sorry, Najib, I'm not buying your bonds, but I do support your Bitcoin plans.
They turned their hats around, they came up with a plan, and then they also created their own wallet. Ben Ark, have you seen this recent article? It said most Salvadorians have already ditched their national Bitcoin wallets. Those who stayed on the Chivo app are not using it for what it was intended, using it instead to keep their dollars safe rather than their crypto. We've talked about this before. It seems like it was a pretty clear plan to not actually have the trouble of giving everyone $30 in Bitcoin. It's a lot better if you can give them a link or an account or something. So obviously you'd make your own wallet so you wouldn't have to give out that Bitcoin. I know how frustrating it is when you give people Bitcoin for a costume contest or something and they never move the Bitcoin. It stays there in the wallet. Obviously, El Salvador didn't have that problem. But Ben, do you think they designed this thing wrong? Was it a design failure, how they were going to get this country to accept Bitcoin? What went wrong? Was it the wallet that lost the trust? Was it the country wasn't technology enough? They weren't ready.
Well, you have these despot politicians, and these, like El Salvador's historically been run by these three families, and they just kind of take it in turns to be president or whatever. And Bukele's just from one of those, as is the rest, obviously his brother and whatnot. And then they're playing, CEO. Bukele calls himself CEO on Twitter, the CEO of El Salvador. But that's what he thinks. He thinks he's CEO, and he gets up and he does this announcement. Oh, the Bitcoin bond, Bitcoin City. I'm going to have a city and next to a mountain and next to a volcano. It's going to be great. And it's kind of hard for lots of businesses fail before they get to that point where they have like a successful CEO and a successful company and then successful products. So why, some politician who just is cosplaying would be able to create something which actually has value and is going to be received by markets as having value. Like, it's beyond me. And it's the same with the Chivo wallet. It's the Chivo wallet. was predominantly owned by Bekele's brother. It's an in-house job. And then obviously it's all about control and actually giving people the Bitcoin in the first place. So of course it's going to be crap. And I know the company which was responsible for actually on the liquidity side, and they had, so say if you made like a Bitcoin transaction over Lightning with the Chivo wallet, it wouldn't register that the transaction had settled. So for the person receiving the Bitcoin, it's just the worst experience if you pay for something and then it's gone from your wallet, but the person it doesn't say that it's received the Bitcoin. Well, that was an endpoint, like a webhook, which was being fired back to Chivo wallet from this liquidity provider. And for some reason, they just blocked it because they were just idiots and they didn't know what they were doing. And it's just, going to be the socialites of San Salvador, the youngsters who were playing cosplay at being Silicon Valley bros. The reality is, had he just like marketed and shilled the companies and the investment and the people who are setting up shop and really interested in setting up shop in San Salvador. And then, like Martin said, like I sound like a broken record. Had he just talked about and invested some of that money into San Salvador and building as a location, that would have been fantastic. Could have been it could have been the new Silicon Valley of Central America. Particularly like with Venezuela having such a bad time at the moment, like for the Central and South Americans, like Venezuela is like the California, and it was historically, and a lot of them were very heartbroken by that being lost, and so El Salvador could have become that. But it's just the cosplaying of CEO and then doing this big announcement and this Bitcoin bond thing. And I think Blockstream maybe, they can shoulder some of the blame here because, they're selling this government a product. I see Samson Mouse now left Blockstream, and he was like spearheading this Bitcoin bond thing, which has been incredibly unsuccessful, and not one investor. So if you're building a product, if you're like rich Bitcoiners and involved in the Bitcoin space, and you have a lot of capital yourself, and then you're building a product to allow investors to buy a part of this Bitcoin bond, and then you yourself don't buy anything or buy any of it. So like Adam Back's not bought any of this Bitcoin bond. No, Samson Mouse not chipped into this Bitcoin bond. So like, yeah, that's a bad sign. So it was just hype and announcements, and yeah, it's very, very, very frustrating. But I do know that there is still investment going on in El Salvador, and there are companies which are still setting up there, and apparently it's swarming with VC types and people who actually want to make that experiment work. And it's good that people are starting to El Salvadorians are starting to realize that, or not use Chivo wallet, and then try and experiment with some of the other wallets which make the Bitcoin UX much better.
I don't think this will be the last time we see a large, perhaps even international or claiming not to have a nationality Bitcoin company roll into a small country and do whatever they want, like Ben's saying. It's not quite United Fruit. It's not quite overthrowing countries yet, but I can see Bitcoin companies rolling into smaller countries and causing severe problems. I don't think this will be the last time we talk about it. Dan, Eve, why did so many Bitcoiners, especially libertarian Bitcoiners, he said in parentheses, go all in on El Salvador when from the outside it was obviously unlikely to succeed? It was obviously a dictator. It was obviously not a technological society. It was obviously a long shot. But they were dancing on the stage for the volcano bonds like they had it made. And as Ben said, they didn't even invest when it came time to pay.
Well, I think some good points have been made about the fact that the bond, the appeal for the bond could be that because it's not directly investing in Bitcoin. So there's although you're getting exposure to Bitcoin, you're kind of not having to hold it, etc. I think there's the reason why they wouldn't have built San Salvador might be the kind of like the Dubai situation where just build it in the middle of nowhere. Right, where and build a complete fresh start. Maybe because it's Bitcoiners, they wanted to like segregate, the richness of the Bitcoiners from the existing sort of infrastructure and people. Because they thought might be protection issues, right? But then anyone could just travel to Bitcoin City and just rob you. So there's that could still happen. I think they're definitely probably sweating right now though with the Bitcoin price. They've got the $800 million bond that's coming up in 2023. So that's pretty serious if they default if they default on that. The IMF is obviously getting a bit smug right now, and the article says like the IMF previously criticized Bukele's call to make Bitcoin legal tender and has called for the government to reconsider its reliance on the cryptocurrency. But
fuck the IMF.
I know exactly. Yourself. And what are they saying? Reduce your reliance on the on crypto, on Bitcoin, by increasing your reliance back on the dollar, which is printed to oblivion. You know, we've discussed many times about how what is 80% of the dollars has been printed in the last few years, and that's insane. So you're putting your monetary policy in the hands of another country with completely different interests. El Salvador's reliant on the dollar, and then someone else can just print it out of thin air. And that impact, they don't get the benefits, the trickle down benefits of that, because they don't get the money trickling back into their infrastructure. They just get an inflated dollar, which has less buying power elsewhere. Wall Street Pro on Twitter said that I don't know how true, they had a chart, but so the Bukele's lost money on every single Bitcoin purchase. So overall, on paper's $21.5 million down, which is pretty hardcore. It's 25.15%.
It's got to be some kind of record. He's lost money on every Bitcoin purchase. It's legendary.
Oh, it's pretty unlucky. I know I could beat him. But Max Kaiser said, he said, oh, that's BS. I'm sat in El Salvador right now, and there's $2 billion worth of pledges here. But pledges are one thing, and commitment, and and actually buying into the bond is another. And let's face it, how many sales don't go through in every industry where people pull out at the last minute for whatever reason. It's the thing with people not shilling it, like promoting the Bitcoin bond and not buying into it. It's like one of those shill thing. It's like a giant shilling system. Like everyone's got a ref link. Like they're not actually buying into it. They're not putting their own money in, but they'll make money off of shilling it, which is interesting. Yes, one approach. But I'm sure they probably are committing. It's just maybe it's just the legalities of it. I don't know. But maybe someone needs to dip their toes into the water first. I just can't believe that not a single person or entity has put it on paper. There's so much money floating around. Someone's going to dip their toes into the water. But the one thing is that the IMF, they are getting pretty smug. And if we did see like a 10k Bitcoin, they would be smugger than a fart sniffing Prius driver, I think, based on all of their quaffs of El Salvador and their Bitcoin antics.
I'm sure someone has bid on it, but it's probably just really terrible, like that $200 bid for the $3 million first tweet NFT. And the guy was like, nah, that's not happening. I'm not selling it for $200. And it was funny what Dan said about Bitcoin City and that you might get robbed there. It reminded me of a great scene from Steve Martin's classic movie, LA Story, where there's a line of people for the ATM on the right and there's a line of robbers on the left. And Steve gets his money from the thing. And the guy's like, hi, I'm Bob. I'll be your robber. And that seems like what all of Bitcoin City and all of these Bitcoin citadels just seem like giant honeypots full of stupid Bitcoiners walking around having to give away their money, getting robbed all the time. They'll make the first one of these, and that the first day or the first week, they'll be like, crime is kind of rampant in Bitcoin City. It's almost like these libertarians don't care about other people at all and maybe aren't the best neighbors to live next door to. They might even be working on the crime themselves. They might be organizing it. This thing of ours, something like that. So I don't know about the Bitcoin cities and the citadels. Everyone likes the idea, but maybe the online world is our citadel, the metaverse, the Twitterverse, internet, like they call it. But let's move on to the exit question. Grade the El Salvador experiment. Give a letter grade to what's gone on. Josh Shigala, A for excellent, F for failing. Where will we go on the El Salvador experiment?
I want it to become an A. I really do. I want it to become an A. I want the best for him. I want the best for the people of El Salvador. I don't really care about the guy running the whole show. I want the best for the people that are living in this little geographical region, and I want the best for Bitcoiners. So let's see.
And it turns out the guy has a backup plan already. He shows on Twitter all the time. He has McDonald's experience. He has Mick experiments. So there's always hope for Bukele. Much like I used to say, I could be a sandwich artist. He could always go back to the Mick company. Martine Wishmayer, give us a grade A through F, the El Salvador experiment.
I think right now I'd give it a C, but as Josh said, I think the people there deserve an A. As Ben said, there is still lots of like individual companies working there. I know several Bitcoiners that are really planning on moving there. And once they're there, they won't just sit there and go to the beach. They will start their own business again, just like they've always been doing. And it will take maybe 10 years, but eventually in the long term, people of El Salvador will be better off having a currency that's not linked to the US dollar. Even though they might not realize it right now, and in many cases that denial is also politically based because they don't like their president, so therefore they don't like his plans. And this is also my concern with Bitcoin. It shouldn't be forced upon people top down. People should learn about it, and then they will make the smart decision for smart money themselves. There's no regulations or politicians need approval needed for that. So yes, it will turn out okay, but we'll have some bumps in the road, which was to be expected in a way.
And I mean, it's a whole country, right? They're down 21, what is it, 21 million? What was it, Thomas? How much are they down?
I think it was
quite a lot.
1.5 million.
Right. I mean, CNN Plus is
It's
down 300 million.
That lucky 21 number, though. It keeps coming up. 21,000.
Lucky 21 million, but like literally CNN lost $300 million in trying CNN Plus and failed after a month. So, I mean, these numbers, get it in perspective here.
Yeah, but CNN's probably a bigger company than El Salvador is a country. I'm not sure. I'd have to look it up. Ben Ark, give us a letter grade for the El Salvador experiment.
Well, when I was a teacher, I always used to say, because I taught naughty kids, and I always used to say to them, that so in the UK we have GCSEs, and an F is a pass. So I think they're still going to pass. That's what counts. I want them to get a B, and I do think it's. I think it's possible if it's not. So you've got a whole country of people who've probably learned quite a lot about Bitcoin and about the Lightning Network, and that's great. I'm trying to find it now, actually, on Tallycoin. Maybe you can get it up, Thomas. On Tallycoin, there's a fund for which I think IBEX, the bank, are involved in, which is they're building a really nice educational program, like a course for kids in school to learn about Bitcoin, which will be and it's being headed by a whole bunch of teachers as well, which is great, and it'll be compatible with a lot of sort of essential skills and things which make courses more desirable for schools to run. And it won't be like a preachy, where you need Bitcoin because blah blah blah, and inflation. It'll be just explaining the technology, how it works, what we can do with it. It won't be politicized, and they're putting together a great course. So there's impact. Bitcoin's had impact in El Salvador. I think it's going to eventually be a good impact. Like Martin says, I still know businesses which want to set up there, for people who want to set up there. And as I said in the last show, my friend Jay Deluxe is there. He's there quite a lot, and he said that it's a very exciting atmosphere still, and there's lots of kind of VCs rushing around, which is probably why people like Max Kaiser don't really see the same. So what they see in the news isn't quite reflected on the ground in El Salvador. So I hope they're aiming for a B, but I'd say it to one of my kids. I'd say, aim for that B, but remember, an F is a pass. It's okay. So if you get a G, you failed.
In the United States, F is not a passing grade. It is a slightly better than an incomplete, where you stop attending the class. At least F showed you stuck it out till the end. You showed up for the tests, what have you, but not passing. Dan, Eve, do they pass? Give El Salvador a letter grade.
I think at the moment it's like a C minus, because of just obviously you've got to judge it on Bitcoin's price, right? So if Bitcoin goes up, then and it goes up to like 67K again, then it's like an A. If it goes to hit 100K, then it's an A star. But obviously, if it goes down, it's going to affect your grade, McKelly. So you got to make sure you got to pick the Bitcoin price up. But someone once said to me when I was going to do a best man speech, they were like, just remember one thing: no one wants you to fail, and that was like a real motivator. But the thing is, with El Salvador and Bitcoin, so many people want it to fail. And that's the sad thing, right? Even though it will affect so many people's lives in El Salvador, there's and it made me think, I can't remember who it was, but it said earlier on the show about some evil bastard who's really rich, who just pushes the button to make it drop lower than 21K just to short out Michael Saylor and co, and then potentially Bukele. What if Warren Buffett, he's given 10 days to live, and he's like, oh, screw it, I'm gonna dump the markets. So he's been hoarding Bitcoin, he's gonna dump it just to make Michael Saylor default. I don't know. There's lots that could happen, but I want you to get an A star.
I haven't been a big fan of this project since the beginning, and I remain not a big fan. I think I'm going to give them a D-, which is very close to failing, but an A for effort. I like all the effort that everybody put into this. I want to support all the Bitcoiners that went down there. I don't know why you'd want to move there. It's okay if you want to change your mind. You could say it's not because of the price. Say it's like the weather or something, or it rained and there's a volcano and you just want to stay home. Something like that. But I like everything that everyone did. I like the big parties. I like bringing the big speakers in. All the pictures with the dictator, really cool. It reminded me of that time that Elvis met Nixon. It was really like a special time. So it's sad I didn't get one of those cool pictures, but oh well. Maybe next time, El Salvador and other countries. We do want to show you the Tallycoin fundraiser. Because it's usually Lightning Network, I set it to a static QR code here, so you can send it on-chain Bitcoin.
Ooh.
If you go to the actual Tallycoin for Diploma in Bitcoin 2, you can donate with Lightning Network or whatever else. And they have succeeded in their goal, but I'm sure they could always use some more support. Thanks, Ben.
So I can. Shall I scan this? Oh no, wait there. Oh wait there. When I scan it, it wants like $10. Oh, don't worry. Can you go to the Lightning? Can you go to the Lightning? Let's just chuck them a couple of hundred sats. It all helps, doesn't it?
No,
Also,
Ben, send them all Bitcoin.
Well, click on that. Let me try.
There's a $10 Lightning link. Do you want a smaller?
I don't know. Let me see if my channels can hack it. $10. Let me see if I can pay it. If I can pay it, you'll see it. We should get a tick. All being well, but my channels are a bit weak at the moment.
Everyone has to get out.
Oh, there we go.
Somebody paid it. There we go.
Paid. That was cool.
Yeah.
So that's how Tallycoin works. It's great. We love it. Well done, DJ Booth. And this is honestly a great cause. And there's good people heading it as well. Very productive, good people. And we can use this course internationally as well, which is wonderful.
And while we definitely support this, I wouldn't mind seeing Michael Saylor and some of his MicroStrategy money going to education initiatives, especially small independent ones. Sorry, Martin, I cut you off.
This is the example of why we need Bitcoin. I mean, Ben is in Wales. He donates to Tallycoin, which I believe is in the US, to fund a project in El Salvador, and it all took almost 2 seconds. So
and
this is fantastic.
I didn't have to put in any personal details, no bank details. No one stole my, my identity and used it on dark markets. It just works so goddamn good.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
People complain price up, price down, but this shows
Exactly.
the true power.
Exactly. Who fucking cares, man? This technology is amazing.
Well, and I think someone else just donated another $10. I was trying to donate $10. It said it had a routing error. I'm not sure if that's a wallet problem or just someone else already used the route. So here we go. I'll sneak in quickly. Aha! Now I sent it $10. So let's see. There it is. Look how fast that is. Super cool. Yeah. All right. Hope they do well. Diplomado in Bitcoin, said by Gringo. Moving on to issue 4, BIP 119. Here's everything you need to know about the Bitcoin proposal. Bitcoin 119 is being proposed by, so I don't have his full name here. It says Ruben, and he's proposed an operation code called Check Template Verify. He wants to introduce covenants, a new kind of conditional transaction. This itself is an interesting idea, but what's perhaps even more interesting is the way that Jeremy Rubin is intending to upgrade the Bitcoin code. From my understanding, he's using something called a speedy trial to achieve consensus. After that, they want to use a miner activated soft fork, MASF, which the miners would be able to operate and install the upgrade without consulting the nodes. Remember, last time we had a user activated soft fork, which was activated by the nodes, not the miners. So Ben Ark, this is a very controversial proposal. Both the covenants idea followed very closely by the idea of how it wants to be activated quickly. It wants to be an alternative consensus, and it's kind of like they just want to ram it through without talking to a lot of people. Ben Ark, what do you think about BIP 119?
CTV, check template verify. It's I liked it. I like it. I kind of like it as a BIP. I think. I mean, there is this worry about. I mean, I hate fungibility issues as well, but we have covenants. We have multi-sigs and things. This will just be a way of kind of predefining that these bitcoins can only go to a certain wallet or only be spent in a certain way. Or so it builds out things like gives us more tools to build interesting things on top of Bitcoin. I think the real issue is that it hasn't had time to find consensus, and it could have some very adverse effects, such as real fungibility problems. And we need much more time to really test this thing. And I think that seems to be people like Adam Back, White, and Matt Corello, and some pretty important people, why they've shown they're very negative about it. It's the process, it's the speedy trial process. And it's really interesting because so basically speedy trial was used in Taproot, and Taproot was just great. It was a massively great improvement all round. There wasn't really any opposition for it. And we just wanted to get it in as quickly as possible. And it's like, great, we can use a speedy trial thing, win-win, and it just goes in. And you don't have to have the same consensus mechanism, which we would have to do with other forks. And it works so much easier, and it was great. And now someone's using it for more of a controversial BIP, which hasn't been tested so thoroughly as Taproot had. And then the question then becomes, well, is speedy trial really something we really want to have, like in Bitcoin? So it's kind of a fringe use case for speedy trial, which is proving to us that mechanism probably isn't suited to this protocol. I worry like that there's only so many things we can fork into Bitcoin before it just becomes impossible to get consensus. And then the question is, well, what do we want? And I think something like BIP 300 and the drive chain stuff, I think that allows Bitcoin to be everything it needs to be. It gives us a huge new tool set to work from, and we can do a lot of the check template verify stuff with it. But again, it just you need to arrive at consensus through people testing and researching and writing papers. And props to the Bitcoin community for sensing and having an appropriate reaction to a change which is being proposed to go into Bitcoin in a way which isn't kind of trying to. I mean, this proposal's been around for a while. It's been around since like 2018 or something. And he did a talk in 2019 in the conference in the Miami San Francisco conference. But yeah, it was so it's been in the works for a while, but it just hasn't been tested enough, and it's speedy trial which is the problem, not the BIP 119 itself, I don't think.
It sounds like Bitcoin's a lot like the US government and the Constitution. People want it to react really quickly and change to their needs, but it's not designed that way. It's designed to be frustratingly slow so that presumably you debate back and forth, get a better bill that serves more people. It hasn't quite worked out that way, but we'll have to see if it works out that way in Bitcoin. Dan, Eve, your thoughts on BIP 119.
So, just what the premise? If this is to the panel, just to confirm my understanding. So, this is for to allow a Bitcoin to be sent to an address, or to be locked, so that it can only be sent to a specific address. Is that correct? As I understand it, Ben?
No,
I've read, they
that's just
say
one of the things. That's just
Covenant is like programmable money, so it adds to
Oh,
that.
right. Okay. So,
and with more detail, guys.
you can do that,
Hmm.
but you can do a whole load of other things as
right.
well.
So
Yeah,
it
just add
makes it more
covenants in.
kind of smart contracty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Well, yeah, Covenant, obviously, it sounds very holy, doesn't it? But it seems like obviously Taproot got through in with the same sort of fast tracking as they're trying to propose for BIP 119. But the difference is, the general kind of consensus around Taproot was a lot stronger, and I think there's probably a bit of bone of contention for some people is that there's Jeremy's got a bit to benefit from pushing this forward, like financially. So it may not be just in the best interests of Bitcoin itself, but because of the company that can stand to benefit from it. So that's kind of one of the reasons why it seems like it's getting a lot of opposition. But rushing anything is a bad idea. I know the Supremes famously said you can't hurry love, and the same applies to hurrying through Bitcoin proposals. So yeah, I mean, I don't understand it fully from a technical level, but it just seems logical that in order for this thing to succeed, it's going to have to carry a lot more weight behind it. I think it was Jimmy Song said that he believes only sort of 10 to 20% of miners will actually even signal for it. And that seems like really, really low. So I'm wondering whether that's just a general kind of, not over negative sort of statement, because he doesn't believe it's 20% seems really, really low. If it does have some good usage in terms of smart contracts, then that seems like something that's functionally pretty good, and that would bring a bit more DeFi and a lot more kind of general liquidity to Bitcoin. So there's some strong points there, but it needs to be technically done correct in a technical way, and not to compromise Bitcoin. And fast tracking anything without doing all the formal testing behind it is going to increase the risk of impacting Bitcoin in a negative way. And no one wants that. Like, the Bitcoin isn't this, it isn't as experimental. Everything seems to go on other shit coins and stuff first, and Bitcoin is the rock that is stable. And you don't want to shake the rock, because you don't want the rock to fall on you.
You always win points for quoting the Supremes. You can't hurry love. You just have to wait. And the Covenant's also a weird word for me, Dan. I always hear Terrence Stamp in Jim Carrey's fantastic Yes Man. And he's like, we have entered a covenant. And then from then on, Jim Carrey has to say yes to everything. It's a great movie, so check it out. Josh Shigala, what about BIP 119 and the Covenant? Is that a scary thing? Or is it more scary that someone who could clearly make money on this is trying to push their own ideas into Bitcoin once again?
I like that Bitcoin is looking to move forward. I just, everything will take everything will take time, and everything will be totally scrutinized. Not like in the Ethereum network. Everything will be really, really fought over, and shit will be slung. And if it's the right thing, it'll happen. If it isn't, it'll fork, and someone will try it on a fork. And then if it works on the fork, maybe the original chain might take it on eventually. But yeah, I think it's good. This is what Bitcoin was about: is putting a proposal forward, seeing who likes it, seeing who upgrades, and seeing if that was 51%.
I don't know if Bitcoin Covenant's going to work as a name. It's not quite B Diamond or B Rhodium. They need kind of a metal to fork Bitcoin. Martine Wishmayer, what do you think? BIP 119, speedy trial, great for everyone.
So the Bitcoin covenants would be BC cash then, and we would get all the BC cash if it splits off. Now, personally, I'm not too happy with the fact that it's, in my opinion, is quite a big change in Bitcoin that is pushed via speedy trial to, I don't know, I think he has an agenda there, the agenda being that he can make some money out of it, but it is a major change in potentially has a big impact on the fungibility of Bitcoin. And I think anything that impacts the fungibility of my Bitcoin is an attack on Bitcoin. So therefore should be scrutinized, and there should be consensus. And the fact that it is being pushed through by some speedy trial could be a bad actor if it's not properly researched. So I think this we should not accept this as we should not accept it until it's well thought out. From what I understood is that you can limit, for example, like transactions to only go to certain other addresses. So if you do this recursively, you might end up with a whole bunch of Bitcoin that end up in a separate system that will never be able to leave that system. We compared it a bit to Revolut, where you can buy Bitcoin and you can sell Bitcoin at Revolut Bank, but you can never transfer them off. They're forever locked into the Revolut system. You don't even know whether they exist or not. This is like a sort of like subset. I believe PayPal still has that, isn't it? So this is not what we want. We want Bitcoin to be fungible and easily spendable. And maybe there are other options and things we can do with the BIP 119. But for now, let's first research it proper, get consensus the regular way. Maybe it will take years. And if it takes years, it probably has a good reason to take years. And once everybody is on board, we can always decide to implement it.
I know Dan
That
knows.
should not be happened. And I think we should not have major changes pushed via speedy trial this way, unless everyone is on board. It's just it's scary. Just imagine that a bad actor like a government would discover this feature and then demand that all transactions in Bitcoin are done in that way, so that it's that there's more control over where all those transactions are going. We haven't properly grasped the consequences of such a change, so we shouldn't change it. And yes, Josh said it will take forever to change anything in Bitcoin, but I think this is what makes Bitcoin strong, and this is what makes Ethereum a shitty platform, in my opinion, my personal opinion. But yeah, that's my 2 cents.
There's a good, I mean, it's like what you said about Ethereum. I mean, like they're packing all this functionality just into this thing on the base chain, and like maybe Bitcoin doesn't need any of that stuff. Maybe that contracting stuff should be on a side chain or something, rather than being packed into Bitcoin.
Keep Bitcoin, and yes, a side chain, and it would be great for doing those things. It would also be less pressure on the main chain.
Yeah.
I believe Ethereum has $50,000 transactions now, right? Because of,
and they've inevitably had to go to side chains anyway. They've got these weird, crappy side chains being rolled out as band-aids. But if you do it properly, it could be done nicely.
So can we all agree that we say no to BIP 119 for now?
Yes.
I think that's going to be the exit question. But those trapped Bitcoins remind me of a line I think Dan will know from Hotel California. You can check out anytime you like, but you can
never leave.
But what do you think? Thumbs up or down? BIP 119, Ben Ark, up or down? Oh, Ben's confused. Martine Wishmare, up or down?
Oh, this is 2 thumbs down.
Dan Eve, up or down? Oh, down. I'm down. Josh?
I need to read more about it.
All right, so one abstaining.
Oh no, wait there. Sorry, I'm not thumbs down. I'm a maybe.
Right,
it's speedy trial. Speedy trial.
Speedy trial.
Speedy trial. Okay, speedy trial.
Yeah. Just
all
speedy
right.
trial.
All right, we fixed Bitcoin right here. That's all it takes is a thumbs up, thumbs down vote. Very few people know that. Moving on to issue 5, bonus issue. Binance CEO says Elon Musk has no plan for Twitter, and he wrote him a $500 million blank check anyway. The article probably says the reason, but I assume it's something like Binance CEO has too much money, does not fear wrath of shareholders, has no corporate headquarters. What do you think? We'll start with Dan, Eve. What do you think about not just Elon Musk taking over Twitter, but more specifically the Binance CEO, Changpeng Zhao, giving him $500 million with no business plan, no plans to make money at all, taking the shareholders' money and just doing it? What do you think?
I think free speech is a seifu with Binance buying into Twitter. Overall, I think there's a bit of doom and gloom from about Musk taking on Twitter. Like suddenly it's going to become like an SS recruiting ground, and everyone's going to become a Nazi, and it's a bit kind of a bit chicken lick and skies falling down. Obviously, laws are still going to be upheld and stuff like that, but there's just going to be less kind of political restrictiveness, I think, which is a good thing, right? Not because you can't have like you need to have good discourse, right? You can't just slap down every idea, but within the constraints of the law, right? You can't do crazy stuff like yell fire in a chicken factory or a cinema, whichever it is. Either way, it's disastrous. Overall, I think it's good that there will be less sort of scams, and there's going to be more of a focus on that. I think Binance is going to gain a lot from it. Like when they bought Bitcoin market cap, they'll be able to sneak things in, like maybe some Binance kind of buttons. I don't know, but that kind of investing $500 million is quite a big sum of money to be putting forward. So they're going to have some swing, I think, in there. I think overall, I'm kind of keen to see what the changes can be, and I didn't realize that actually Twitter's got, I think I read, less than 500 million users, which seems like, I thought it would be much higher than that. So I still think it's got a lot of room for growth, I'm interested to see where it does go. I mean, obviously a lot of those are probably bots. There's absolutely loads of them still around. But once they get cold, it'd be interesting, to see if it can climb to the billion user marker. I'm not sure what Facebook is now, but that's like way past 1 billion. So I think Twitter's got a lot of room to grow, and I'm keen to see what's going to be changing in the Twitterverse.
Josh Shigala, tell me this Binance guy is crazy like a fox. Tell me he has a plan to get Binance coin as the tipping coin for Twitter, and that this $500 million just gets him in the room, and that it's really somehow a good idea.
Yeah, I think it's, nothing comes for free. Nothing. You don't just give someone $500 million and not expect anything. There's a plan. And all these free speech advocates saying Elon, and I'm slightly one of them. Like, I think it's better that he buys it and he sort of opens it up. But I'd rather be more of on the technological front, saying we can't just trust ride on the whims of some sort of extravagant billionaire. We really need to build technological solutions to censorship, where you can deal with censorship in one way because you kind of need it. I don't want to see people's heads cut off in front of, from some extremist, and I don't want to see child molestation and disgusting stuff like that. I want to see those people hunted down and put in prison. But at the same time, we need open discourse. Open discourse is so important. By shutting everything down, it just gets people in echo chambers. And the problem is, when we've had in the past people like Trump or other people, they go, oh, well, we'll build our own. And they build their own, but then only that kind go there. And then you also get echo chambers of that style. And so you get echo chambers of people canceling cultures and leaving their own culture and echoing. and then you get the new player echoing. So it's really important to have an open space. So building something new sometimes doesn't work because the how you seed it is how the culture that will grow. That's where I think like something like Nostar, what Ben's working on is really good. It's taking the notion of where censorship is based on a node basis, and if you want to join a certain thing, I do fear that it still has the potential to be echo chambery, but as a whole, I think that the answer is more technological, because suddenly maybe I don't know, anyone that maybe Musk starts to censor certain things that we don't see yet. So trusting people is kind of like trusting banks with money, central banks with money. They might have a good policy one year and might have an absolutely terrible policy some other year. It's no good. Let's figure out something better.
Maybe they should implement where the tweets go in. They're actually communicated via duck quacking, because duck quacks don't echo, and therefore there will be no chamber to echo.
Yeah, or eel mail.
Science.
Like electric eel mail, where you just really charge up and you encrypt the eel and you throw it down the toilet. You wait for it to come up the other end. You give someone the message.
Well, that definitely sounds much more convenient than Twitter.
That's the future right there.
Let's all remember the lesson that the Tron guy learned from when he had lunch with Warren Buffett. No free lunch. Martine Wishmayer, $500 million for a Twitter investment with no plan, no business plan. What do you think of Binance's latest investment?
Still think this whole Twitter thing is a proof of stake attack. But there's, a billionaire buys a social media network. What could possibly go wrong? No. There will be something happening. I don't know what. Maybe we'll leave Twitter en masse, just like we left Facebook a few years ago.
It's like that 80s movie, The Secret to My Success. Elon's just going to roll in and change everything. The whole culture at Twitter, everything's better now. And then he puts his shades on. Ben Ark, what do you think about a $500 million investment for a company without a business plan? Good idea?
Sorry, I lost the mute button for a second. Like Josh said, there's going to be some plan which maybe they're not talking about for maybe good reason. Elon Musk is a spy, and he's trying to attack Bitcoin first through the mining thing, and now through buying Twitter, and then using Dogecoin for people to tip each other on Twitter, or some nonsense Binance thing. Thanks for the shout out, Josh. But I'm not really working on any Nostar stuff currently, so I always feel bad like taking any credit, because that world is like blowing up, and there's people building all these applications on Nostar using the Nostar network, and I've fallen quite far behind. I need to like catch up with all the different NIPs which have come out, the Nostar improvement proposals. We've got NIPs, and it needs to change because obviously whatever. But it's really coming along. We are building some Nostar stuff into LM Bits. We'll have some extensions for like a dark market extension. We'll have a like an Uber type extension thing, which would be quite good fun. And then like a sex worker platform as well, which would be fun. So we'll have extensions for these different things. We should be using Nostar. But like Josh said, it is great, because if you want a vanilla Twitter experience and using on the Nostar network, you just connect to like vanilla relays, which do censorship. If there's anything really gross on there, they'll censor it. And if they start getting a bit, shenanigan-y, and they start just censoring political posts which aren't leaning in the direction they want to be leaning in, you could just detach from that relay and then connect to, a fork of that relay where they're not doing that, and they are letting anyone post any political stuff, but they're just not posting like videos of animals being tortured or whatever. So it's a fascinating and great network, and it's very exciting, and it really could like replace Twitter, which is just crazy. And I feel very privileged to have had my little part in the history of that. But I need to kind of work on it more and do more with it, because I haven't done anything, and people are building great things on it. But he does want to use a lot of open source stuff, I think, Elon Musk. That's what he said, and I think this, I mean, if he does want to push the free speech thing, ultimately as a private company, that's the only way they can really go, is to kind of free and open source some elements of it, so it's no longer within their control. But I'm not sure how it work. I don't know if it goes public and then there's people who have shares in it, and then people start posting horrible stuff on it, and it can't be, censored, as in the horrible stuff can't be taken off it. Who knows? Maybe Elon Musk, maybe he's not a spy, maybe he's not evil, and maybe he'll just adopt Nostar and use that to run Twitter, which would be flipping dope. Let's hope that happens.
I wouldn't hold my breath. Moving on to the exit question. Will Binance ever see their $500 million again? Dan Eve.
Yeah, I think so. I think they're going to drive a lot of value out of Twitter as a tool that's got a huge user base. Buying CoinMarketCap was a very significant move, and I think Twitter's got a huge user base that can shield Binance. They can shield Binance on. So Binance is a Sofu on Twitter. Josh
Shigala.
Yeah. When you look at the whole market cap, 42 billion, was it, 500 million touched the surface that much. So let's see how much that actually buys you, how much influence. Maybe, a seat. I don't know if it even gets you a seat on the board. We'll see.
You don't get dinner with Elon Musk. You'll be lucky to have coffee. Martine Wishmare, what about it? Will they get their money back?
No, they'll probably make it back. And I don't think if it doesn't get it back that he'll really miss it. But it's worth a gamble. Totally understand it. Maybe BNB coin is the new Alipay. Who knows?
That sounds like creative accounting. No spoilers. No spoilers. Ben Ark, will Binance get their money back?
They don't care. They just got so much of it. They got to do something with it. So they might as well throw it at Elon Musk.
Oh, what a great problem to have. Too bad. Binance, just throw that money anywhere. We're heading towards the end of the show, but we still got predictions. Are you ready? Everyone had a chance to think all week long. They're all looking out into space. Let's see who looks ready. Dan, Eve, are you ready with a prediction? No? Dan,
I predict that BIP 119 won't go through on Speedy Gonzalez route.
Ooh, solid prediction on 119. Josh Shigala, a prediction?
Prediction is that no, I should think about these things beforehand. No, I have no prediction. Sorry.
Martine Wishmare, predict the future.
No prediction, just a story of the week, if that's okay.
Oh, you got to have a prediction. Ben Ark, you had 5 minutes. What have you got as a prediction? Or you could just agree with Dan, say 119's going down.
I predict, 119's going down. People realize that it's hard to change Bitcoin, and that's a scary concept. There's only a few things we can get into Bitcoin. They'll all flock to BIP 300. They'll read all about drive chains and how amazing they are. And then that will be the thing we get through, and it will make Bitcoin useful for everything. And we'll then get BIP 119 on some drive chain on BIP 300 Bitcoin. So yeah, my prediction is that the failure of BIP 119 will be will give a spur, a momentum to something like BIP 300.
Yeah.
Martine Wishmare, you ready with a story of the week?
Yes, where we are attending Crypto Buy 2022. So for viewers in the Czech Republic, if you're this weekend in Board, go visit Crypto Buy 2022. Win some free stuff for every trade, get free bookkeeping software, and see our latest, greatest ATM model. Not the one here, that's last year's model, but the new BATM2 Ultra. So that's all I have for this week.
Very cool. A conference in the Czech Republic. Josh Shigala, story of the week. You're muted.
Story of the week really is kind of boring. We're just working like crazy at the Standard and Vaultoro, dealing with all sorts of stuff and building and working hard. We've actually figured out a really nice pegging mechanism that allows us to have 0% interest on loans, which is really good. Because
I love a bit of pegging.
Pegging is all the rage right now here.
Pegging is all the rage. No, no, it's really important. Like, how do you peg a token to a stablecoin?
Tell us more. Can you draw us a diagram about pegging?
I think it helps if you tie them down first.
You guys just live in the gutter, don't you? Live there.
I honestly can't wait for the standard, because I know you're working hard, and I know you're productive as well, and you spend your hours wisely. And I honestly can't wait for this thing, because it just gets me more and more excited. Like, it not being released already. Like, I know some crazy cool stuff's happening in the background. And
thank you very much. Yeah, it's really exciting, because one of the key things originally, what MakerDAO started was you put collateral in, and then their interest fee or their stability fee allowed the peg to happen, right? So if the peg slips, you lower interest, or if the peg goes down the other way, but you up interest. But we really worked hard to figure out, how do you have interest-free loans? How do you get rid of usury from loans? So you can put stuff up as collateral. So Michael Saylor could actually put stuff up as collateral, Bitcoin as collateral, and not pay interest on that. And so they wouldn't have to use banks. And in fact, also having a look at liquidation processes rather than liquidating the whole lot, liquidating just some, and also in talks with some technologists over at using RGB to port some of the stablecoins across to the Lightning Network. So there's a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff that we're working on, and it's really, really exciting. I urge everyone to come over to the Standard.io, check out the Discord, jump on in there, because we're really making the ultimate stablecoin solution, we feel. And yeah, I know it's running on like Ethereum layer 2. I know that
I'm gonna go all in on that stablecoin. All of it, everything on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not about that, right? It's about allowing for not just USD stablecoins, but all these small cap.
I know, the Welsh pound,
and allowing that to jump, people to have blockchain tokens based on their local currency that aren't centralized as much as possible. There's always a little bit of centralization here and there, but we try to aim towards decentralization as much as possible, and that's key. And hopefully it'll be maybe the Trojan horse that allows people to onboard onto crypto and find Bitcoin as well.
Sounds very cool, and you can check it out at thestandard.io. Ben Ark, are you ready with a story of the week?
Yes, I am. I'm not with me though. I bought this little printer, and I really love it. I did a little tweet about it, and it's like a little label maker. But what it means is I can take my phone, and I can just make a faucet on my phone, and then just like very easily with an app on my phone, I can send that to the little printer, and it just goes bleep, 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 and just prints out this little sticker, and then I can just stick it on things. So I could just make it, free sats, and I can just put these faucets everywhere. So I really enjoyed playing with that. And then also I was using that. The reason I bought that was because I updated the oh, you got a video. There we are. Yeah, this is it. So much fun. I updated the like my trigger project, so like the little modules which you can use to like turn things on like arcade machines. I updated it to now Bitcoin Switch, which is on my ARC BTC repo. And it has like, it's really easy, like you flash it and then it has an access, and then you can just trigger an access portal on the device, and you're talking like like a £2 ESP32 thing here, and then like a £2, or no, sorry, not even that, like a quid, like little relay here. And then because you don't need a screen or anything, because it's using LN Pay, you can just use one. You can just print out a little QR code and then stick it on your device, and then every time someone pays it, it just as long as there's Wi-Fi connection for that thing to connect to, it will just spit something out, or it'll do whatever you want it to do. It'll turn something on, it'll make your coffee, pour your beer out, spit your sweets out, nice. Turn your arcade credit, give you an arcade credit. And it costs like, a £5. and it costs nothing. And then once it's flashed, you can take that arcade, sell it to somebody, and then they don't need to do any software stuff. They just need to trigger the access portal, then input their own credentials. So that was a lot of fun making that, and then also playing around. And to be honest, that project, which is super cool, the thing which I was really excited about was the little printer I bought for it, because it's just so much fun printing out those faucets.
It does sound like a really neat label printer. I know mine is an old fashioned with a keyboard and everything. So the idea that you could send it a more complex message, and then the idea that you could send it the whole URL or a QR code or something like that, that's a really cool idea for a label maker that I hadn't thought of yet. So kudos to that company. Dan, Eve, are you ready with a story of the week? You're the last one.
Oh, geez, you always catch me out. Now, there's no story here, but I'm just doing some quick research, after we've just had the discussion about pegging, and one of the things that concerned me was liquidation events. But apparently, you can mitigate disasters by putting plastic sheeting down during pegging.
That's good advice. You can also wear a tinfoil hat to keep those radio signals out of your brain. It's never too late.
I felt childish there, because as soon as you said pegging, I was the only one who laughed. Everyone was very serious. So it's good that you ended it on a light note.
We had one more pegging joke in the bag. We had to use them all. So no story of the week. Just shout out to Kenneth Moon for his Bitcoin Last Supper artwork. Also, the guy that did the Bitcoin bear whale graphics. Very cool in my background here. So shout out to those artists. And remember, you can always support artists with your Bitcoin. Even when the price is down, artists love Bitcoin. They like Lightning Network too.
I forgot to mention as well, like when Josh was talking about the MakerDAO, whenever anyone talks about the MakerDAO, they always do this with their hands. And it's like a dance move, like the MakerDAO. Can you do the MakerDAO? I can do the MakerDAO. Sorry, I don't know why. I just wanted to get out.
I call it the Faker DAO now, because they're not really decentralized.
We're all doing the MakerDAO. I wish we had one more pegging joke to close on, but I just can't think of one. So we're out of time. Make sure to give us a thumbs up down below and subscribe if it's your first time here. You could even share the show on Reddit or Twitter or one of those things. You could put in a comment. We got a couple comments last week. It was pretty fun. Thanks so much for joining us and talking about pegging a bunch of times. Until next time, bye.
Bye.